In this video, I'm going to share how to effectively navigate group projects. And by the end of this video, I'm going to have shared with you some of the major problems of why group projects don't work, some stories from my own life and how they've worked effectively for me, and some of the biggest principles that I've learned from a class that have actually helped me in setting up the structure so that way we're not the only ones doing work, but we're able to actually distribute the work relatively evenly and have a structure that helps us do well. In the description of this video, there is a free how to start your next semester strong. So if you're a college student, go ahead and check that out. So I wanted to start with the problems that most of us have when we're doing group projects, because I think we can all agree that it can be problematic. So some of it is there tends to be this reliance on whoever the leader is or someone who does really care, wants to get an A. They tend to do all the work. Another problem can be there can be too many leaders. There can be too many people that all want to have that control and have that role. There can also be a lack of structure where there's not a clear understanding of, hey, what's the point of the group project? Are we meeting? How are we communicating? What are the different roles? There can be meetings that start late or end late, or people with different expectations. There can be personality conflicts, and there can be biases or groupthink or even just negative synergy where people just don't get along. So with all those negatives, why would we even want to do group work? So a part of the reason is because there was this story where what happened is there was this group of people and they're all standing around and there are these random set of questions that are asked. And you've got people by themselves and then a group of 4 or 5. And what happens is each person asks the question or answers the question on their own. And then the group answers the question of 4 or 5. And what would happen is on average, the team score would end up being higher than the individual score. And so there can be this better ideas generation when there's multiple people with multiple perspectives. And the larger the group was in this study, the more correct answers they gained. And one of the potential downsides is that there can be this tendency towards groupthink, or just the larger the group is, the more we can tend to just want to agree with the group because that's easier. And so why work in a group? And first of all, what is a group versus what is a team? And a group is basically just 3 or more people, whereas a team is a group of people that has a specific objective. So specifically in college or at work, usually you're on a team because you're trying to accomplish something, whether you're trying to acquire new clients or you're trying to write a sales pitch or finish a group project. And the reason for a group is to give information, to receive information, or to coordinate tasks. And the group size, it really depends on the purpose. If we're simply looking for information, then it can be a larger group. But if there's a decision that needs to be made, then usually a smaller group is more beneficial. And the benefits of having a group or a team is that it can save time. There are social benefits that it's just enjoyable for the most part to be around people. And there can be this synergy, which basically means that 1 + 1 can equal 5 or 11 or 23. And so those are some of the reasons why we want to have that. And one of the most important things that I learned, there's kind of 3 things that I'm going to go over here, is task behavior, maintenance behaviors, and then roles. And I want you to stick around for roles because that was actually the thing that shifted me in how I go about doing meetings, and I'll share a story about that in just a moment. So task behaviors, this is defining a task within a group. So this can be defining the task, strategizing, setting the roles. This can be brainstorming. This can be doing interviews. This can be discussion or voting, writing a report, or proofreading. So it's all these are all the things that we have to get done. Now, on the other side, there's what's called maintenance behaviors. And these are the things that actually, it's kind of the oil inside of an engine. It's what makes everything run more smoothly. It's the someone bringing cookies or coffee in the morning. It's the socializing and knowing like, hey, what's going on in your life. It's also making sure that there are some level of ground rules of like, hey, like when we meet, there's not going to be any crosstalk. So crosstalk is when any two people have conversations outside of the group, and so we're going to limit that and let each person share individually, and that way they have that space to be there. And then it can also be encouragement, learning to resolve conflict as well as compromise. And one of the things that I did last semester or 2 semesters ago when I had a group project that I was a leader of was I asked our group, hey, would we like to go to BJ's, the restaurant, once a month? And that small thing of getting to be in person at that time, it was still more in the midst of COVID, so everything school-wise was online, so I'd never met these people in real life, only via Zoom. And so we were able to go to a restaurant, eat food, know a little bit about each other's lives, and it just made that small thing. I think we did that either 2 or 3 times over the course of the semester, or maybe on a monthly basis. And what was really cool about that is it created a different level of empathy and caring and really being engaged in the group at a higher level than if we had only seen each other via Zoom, or if we had only seen each other as like, hey, we just need to get this project done. But now by spending this time together, we were going, hey, we value each other as people, and it created a higher level of caring, and it made such a difference. Like I can remember in the beginning of the semester, I was really involved, and there was a point where I didn't do as much work, and I remembered like feeling bad because usually I do pull my weight and really care and put in a lot of effort. And what had happened though was because of that equity that we had built through being in person and that empathy, like other people were able to help, and then I was able to do more at the end. And so the last thing is group roles. So inside of each group, this is probably the most important, most helpful thing that I wish I would have known earlier, is there's 4 group roles. There's the leader, there's the recorder, there's a timekeeper, and there's a gatekeeper. So the leader is the one who's kind of setting most of these things up. He's the one, or she's the one, who's going to be coordinating with whoever the supervisor is or the authority, whatever that looks like. And then the recorder, that means there's going to be someone who's going to be assigned to take notes. This is something that I noticed is I would be the one leading a group a lot of the time, but then I would also be needing to write stuff down, and it can be challenging to do both. And what I found is often there's someone who actually really enjoys doing that. And so intentionally saying, hey, there's going to be a leader, there's going to be a recorder, and then there's going to be a timekeeper. So this is someone who's been given permission to go, hey, this meeting is supposed to be 60 minutes. Can you set a timer? And then when it goes off, we're going to end. Or if we need more time, we're going to take a vote and go, hey, can we extend this 10 minutes? And then we vote, and that's how we do it. So it creates this guideline, this structure, so that we respect everyone's time. And then the last one is the gatekeeper. Now, the gatekeeper's role is to enforce equal participation, or maybe enforce isn't the right word, but to encourage equal participation. Because it can be really easy in a lot of groups for there to be, if it's 5 people, for there to be 2 that really do a lot of the talking and everyone else just kind of listens. But the role of the gatekeeper is to engage and ask, hey, what do you think about this? And bring other people into that conversation, because oftentimes the people who are the most hesitant to share have really, really valuable insights. And that's something that really makes a difference. So the last thing that I want to share is just 10 ways to maximize our meeting efficiency. And this is the very last thing. So we have to decide whether a meeting is necessary. If so, we want to define what is the purpose of our meeting, so everyone comes into it with an understanding. We want to announce, the third one is announce both a starting and an ending time. The fourth one is to select an appropriate group size for whatever it is that we're doing and make sure that the key people that are decision makers, if there needs to be decisions made, are actually at that meeting. The fifth one is to prepare an agenda and any materials that are necessary. The sixth is to begin our meeting on time. The seventh is to set ground rules. How are we going to operate within this group? And then the eighth one is to make an agenda clear for all participants. And the ninth one is to end the meeting on time.